Oh, hello, Zach. Welcome. Come inside.
Oh, hi, Carl. Hello, Russ.
We heard this incident while we stayed in Canada during the course of our North America trip.
What we heard has infiltrated into our pores from that very day, and the reminiscence of the narration comes back to haunt us every single day, every single night.
So who wants to hear an odd-dropper, eye-popper of a story? Carl, Russ, Zach?
Of course, that's why we're here, Danny and Dylan.
So it goes like this. Selena and Jacob were extremely excited when the court granted them permission for adopting 9-year-old Lacey from St. Augustus Orphanage. And despite being deaf and mute, little Timmy often became instrumental in expressing his pleasure through his bright emerald eyes that gleamed in excitement beneath his long curled lashes. He had long been expecting a new member in the household, and after his parents' last child came out stillborn, this was the only option left. The difference was that the guest would not be younger than him, she would be older by 4 years.
Selena had chosen Lacey the moment she was taken to the orphanage dormitory. She had a pale face, dotted with little black moles near the cheekbone, and big black eyes that seemed to hide a million secrets. Though Sister Margarita had said to Selena,
"Beware, my child. Bad things happen when Lacey is around."
Selena had replied,
Who but children would be mischievous?
and they almost made the deal final the next day. It was the 29th of December, and the day Lacey would step in through their door and be welcomed by the people in their new home. The sister said that Lacey was born in European Russia and had been kept in 2 other places before St. Augustus.
Lacey came in wearing a blue frock and a grey cardigan, carrying a small brass box and a sling bag that could at most contain 2 to 3 pieces of garment. She had that little Russian accent that came out of a slightly husky yet gentle voice. She wore black lacquer shoes, paired with grey linen socks, and wore brown-fingered gloves, which were loose at the wrist from wearing. Timmy looked up at her with his gleamy eyes, and Lacey looked back, and both of them smiled. Selena and Jacob rejoiced at the idea of having a daughter like the one they had anticipated.
Lacey was given the first room on the left in the first floor next to Timmy's, and the 2 rooms had a common partition in the form of a curtain screen. Lacey put down her box and her bag, interlaced her fingers, and looked up at Jacob and Selena.
Days went by. The 1st of January was celebrated with an overt, unusual splendor on behalf of Lacey's arrival. Lacey was enrolled in Palestine High School, North Canada, and was due to go there from March. In the meanwhile, Selena observed some abnormalities in Lacey's behavior, which intrigued her greatly. How could a 9-year-old girl so perfectly braid her hair? While she sat there in the swing reading Cinderella, Selena had chanced upon some mature content in her diary while dusting her room.
Jacob, I chanced upon some inappropriate content while going through our things, which does not quite go with her age.
Well, perhaps you're overthinking things. Maybe this is due to the unhealthy environment in which she was brought up.
Then what happened?
Then, on the 7th of January, Selena was called by Sister Abigail, the head of the orphanage.
Are you okay, child?
It is absolutely fine, and Lacey has never been a nuisance.
The next day, Sister Abigail was found dead in her car, which had smashed into a tree, and her head had been hammered on the back. But no hammer was found anywhere near. Selena and Jacob were saddened by the news, and they returned to their own work. Lacey busied herself with crayons and paper. Timmy sat on the floor watching her draw.
On the 10th of January, Timmy climbed up the treehouse with Lacey, sitting on the buttress, reading. After a while, Selena heard Lacey's cry and looked out of the window to see the treehouse ablaze. Before she reached, Timmy fell down from the tree on the snow, with Lacey crying for help and huddling about the tree. Selena rushed and took up Timmy in her arms. He was rushed to the hospital and the doctors admitted him with a broken collarbone. Selena looked at Lacey, who looked up with her deep black eyes, and Selena could not question her and had to dismiss the entire thing as an accident. Merely an accident.
At home, a disturbed Selena entered Lacey's room while she was in the bath. She opened her tiny brown box and found a Bible inside it, and within its pages she found a postcard. There was a picture of a white building, yellowed in the Polaroid, which read Serene Institute Estonia. She googled the name and got the email address of the respective authority. She mailed them a picture of Lacey, asking for further information, guessing that Lacey had stayed there at some point of time.
On the 13th of January in the hospital, as Selena sat beside a slowly recovering Timmy, she received a call on her cell from an unknown ID. What she heard made her face sunken, increased her palpitations in the heart, and shocked her from head to toe. She ran into the car and started from home, where Jacob was alone with Lacey.
In the meantime, Jacob was watching cricket on the TV when Lacey came in and curled up beside Jacob. She was provocatively dressed in sheer, in black stilettos, heavy eye makeup, and red lipstick. On her hand was a martini glass containing a scoop of vanilla ice cream with a cherry on the top. She laced her arm with Jacob's, kissing him seductively on the neck. Jacob immediately thwarted her, making her go smashing on the floor and rebuked her for her nastiness. Lacey looked up at Jacob with her heavy black eyes, with all the innocence erased all at once and filled with a fire of anger and vengeance.
Back in her car, Selena tried to speed back home. She pulled up by the entrance and rushed into the stairway. She tried to unlock the door, but it was bolted from inside. She shouted out at her husband,
Jacob! Jacob! Open the door!
She could hear the munching of floorboards on the first floor and climbed up the greenhouse and smashed the window to enter the house. She rushed down the stairs to the living room to find Jacob lying on the floor, motionless. He rushed to him.
Jacob! Jacob!
She shouted in a broken voice. She flipped him over. He was stabbed at the back with a chopper's knife.
Jacob!
Selena howled, unable to keep her composure any longer. She looked around, back and forth, but Lacey was nowhere to be seen.
Maybe calling her Lacey at this point of time is not technically correct.
Selena quickly remembered what the person from Serene Institute had informed her on the phone call at the hospital, and a chill ran down her spine.
Mustering all the courage residual in her, Selena armed herself with a poker and tiptoed upstairs to search for Lacey. She sent an SOS to 911 for police support from her cell and rotated the doorknob to enter Lacey's room. No one was there, and Selena closed the door and looked behind to see a most horrific figure. There was Lacey with a vile look in her mascara and eyeshadowed eyes, dressed in a black sheer corset and black lacquered heels, her red lipstick in a messy sweep all over her chin, with a kitchen knife hanging from her left hand. Selena defended herself with her poker and locked herself in the shower. But through the fibers of the cubicle came in the knife, making numerous wicked slits in the partition. Selena broke the window and jumped into the glass ceiling of the greenhouse, smashing it and landing on her knees and palms on the ground. She hid behind the tubs and plants, and soon the hushing sound of Lacey's footsteps could be heard. Selena paced back a bit, and as she did so, something metallic hit her feet. She looked behind and found it was a hammer, smothered in dried blood, and immediately realized how Sister Abigail was murdered that fateful night.
Sounds of footsteps gradually grew louder and louder. Selena held her breath and hid herself as she saw Lacey pacing directly towards the tub she was hiding behind. She closed her eyes and flipped them open immediately as she heard,
Gotcha!
Lacey was looking from above the plant, the wicked grin on her wrinkleless face illuminated in the clear moonlight.
Wanna play hide and seek with me, Mommy?
Selena fled almost instantaneously before Lacey's weapon could hit her. She ran on the frozen lake on her pencil heels, followed by Lacey, who kept shouting.
Mama, please don't go away from me, please.
At one point, Selena gave up and fell flat on the frozen sheet of water.
Mommy, you lose.
Lacey laughed and said as she slowly approached Selena, the knife in her hand raised in position. The staccato of her boots on the ice broke the silence of the otherwise quiet evening.
Then what happened? Then she had the flashback of the phone call she received from Serene Institute.
The picture you mailed us was not of any Lacey, but of Isabella Ford, who was not a child but a 33-year-old woman suffering from hypopituitarism, which stunted her growth. She had been into 2 families before them and had killed everyone and fled. Reports have said that Isabella aimed at seducing the fathers and ended up killing them and their families when they rejected her sexual advances.
Mama, get ready. Your turn.
Isabella said, standing right in front of Selena. Just as she was about to bring the knife down, Selena removed the stilettos and struck the ice in front of her hard. The sheet gave in. The ice cracked, taking Isabella into the chilly cold water beneath. She raised her head from above the water and cried,
Save me, Mama, save me.
and held her hands out to Selena. Selena shouted back,
You are not my daughter! You are not my daughter.
and banged her head with the heel, making her go down the dark, cold water. The siren of the police cabs came floating in the air from the distance. So, how was it?
Awestruck.
Didn't expect such an ending, Daniel.
We wanna hear one more, Dylan.
Well, there is no more time now. We'll again meet on the 1st of November.
You were listening to The Flashback. Main characters Obhik Mojumdar as Dylan, Akash Roy as Daniel, Shantanu Malik as Zach and Jacob, Orghodeep Pal as Carl and the doctor from the asylum, Parangam Aditya as Russ, Bidyut Parna Mitra as all the female voices. Sound and background by Parangam Aditya and Shantanu Malik. Script by Doipayan Atorthi. Overall concept and direction by Obhik Mojumdar and Akash Roy.